Yeah, I think you can start.
So shall I start?
Yeah, you can start.
Okay. Teamwork begins by building trust, and the only way to do that is to overcome our need for invulnerability. So, for starting a new chapter of learning, I, Neha Kamtamkar, and I have the pleasure of being your host for today. Want to extend a warm greeting and good evening to all of you present here. I hope you all are doing amazing. On behalf of whole SEMS family, I welcome you all to today's international webinar on topic the art of building a contributing workforce from tier 2 cities. Also, I see a quite number of people are joining us. Before I proceed, let me take a brief moment for the introduction of my organization. STEMS Welfare Foundation is a non-for-profit entity established to work in the areas of education, social welfare, women empowerment, skill development, various entrepreneurship, livelihood generation, etc. STEMS Group has conducted various international conferences, seminars, workshops, and webinars in the emerging technologies in various parts of India and has an active network of 3,000 plus engineers, managers, researchers, etc. As discussed earlier, the topic for today's webinar is the art of building a contributing workforces from tier 2 cities by speaker of the day, Mr. Rajiv Subramaniam sir. As we all know about the competition of jobs these days and vacancy of jobs available to us, looking opportunities is a very vigorous way. Yet, in the event that you follow the methods and have a strong system set up, you have a decent possibility handling the position you need. With huge number of graduates going up to get occupations in organizations across world, one should expertise themselves in soft skills as well as research for creating ways to stand apart for the group. To discuss this in detail, I am fiercely delighted to have our guest speaker, Mr. Rajiv Subramaniam, sir. He is a public speaker and young HR manager awarded by CII in 2017, backing up a multi-phased 5-year industry experience in employee life cycle management from of, from onboarding of IIT engineers and management trainee from their 1 and tier 2 B school. HR business partners, employee engagement, performance management, employer branding, audit management, and SR tools automation. Before going further, I request all the participants to remain mute throughout the webinar. And if you have any doubt, you can type in a chat box or you can also raise your hand. The world is full of diamonds and dreams, and we are having one of them here today to enlighten this event. So without any further delay, I would like to give my heartiest welcome to our guest speaker, Mr. Rajiv Subramaniam, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Neha. And first of all, I would like to welcome you all for this webinar because, not everyone turns up on a Saturday evening. So it's great that we could see a handful of people who are interested to attend a idea sharing session, basically, or like can consider it what I learned through experiences operating from tier 2 cities. And also, I would like to thank SEMS Welfare Foundation for giving me this opportunity to interact with some fresh minds, brainstorm some ideas, and to mutual expectation setting and like idea understanding of how things work. So I would like this how I would like to take my session as a 40 to 45-minute session. It's basically like what worked out for us, what worked out for me in various organizations that I worked. Because if you see at my profile, I have like 5 years of experience in HR, out of which all my 5 years I have spent in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. So there's a lot of local flavor that needs to be uh, brought into aligning with your organizational goals and the organizational culture. So that is where, as a HR, we can drive and position ourselves as a preferred employer of choice in tier 2 cities, because this is entirely a different ball game when compared to a tier 1 or a metro city. So yeah, so I will share my screen. Neha, can you please confirm if my screen is visible?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Neha. Yeah, so as Neha said, like if you have any questions, you can stop me and clarify, get it clarified with me, so that it becomes more of interactive rather than me being a speaker speaking so long. Or else, if you want to take it towards the end of the session, also like it's equally good. So we can go it and that way. So yeah, so this is basically about like how we can support our organization, or like in case if any students are attending this, like you'll be entering the organizations very soon post your graduation. So how you can actually help your organizations by adding value to them, by helping them develop a contributive workforce from tier 2 cities. So actually tier 2 cities, I would like to say some very few common dialogues that we have heard from our very early days. They say India is a land of villages, and suddenly as the bloom of industrial revolution, so villages slowly turned into municipalities and then into corporations and then metropolitan cities. So we have a handful of metropolitan cities in India. For example, let's take the hubs like Bangalore, Chennai, Mumbai. Or there is no place to even between two buildings. So that's how crowded metropolitan cities are. And once the real game changer in this place was COVID-19. Of course, tier 2 cities have been supporting Indian economy for quite a long time, not as equal as tier 1 or a metropolitan city, but COVID was the one that brought the entire spotlight on tier 1, tier 2 and tier 3 cities. It was like a very very fast moment for us to react, especially on organizations. It was within a fraction of second. We need to make sure that the deliverables are need to be met, and of course it is very important for people like us who are in the HR and admin domain, to make sure that our employees are safe and healthy. So based most of the, or I would say close to 95 percentage of the IT and ITES domain, they completely gave them work from home. They made sure that all their amenities and facilities are made to set up. Many organizations provide them a basic setup to work from home, including a laptop that is delivered and couriered to them, completely sanitized and everything. You get an office chair, you get an office table, you get a good internet connection, and in case if you already have one, you can reimburse the cost of one. So all those things, kudos to my friends in other industries. We saw that many of the HR and admin folks taking up responsibilities in making sure that the organization still continues to drive and have a very good run during the COVID without any interruption. So this is not where the point actually started. So of course, COVID was a major factor, but the point actually started is that it all started during March 2020. But again, then we had a slight decrease, or I would say the first wave was close to its end. That's the way, some companies, they thought of calling their employees back, at least some set of people, not everyone, but at least they preferred like some 20 to 25% of their people working from the officers. But that's when this particular terminology came into picture. It was called as new normal, a term that has been familiarly used by any editor or like journalist when describing anything about the post-COVID return to office or work from office scenario. They always term us with this new normal. So uh, hello.
Еще dapat diarahin dulu, langsung aktif.
Sorry, someone is on. Please go on. Yeah. So this is the new normal, and COVID gave us the confidence that work can be done from anywhere. Work can be accomplished from anywhere. Even if you see in our case today. So I'm sitting somewhere in the southernmost tip of India. Basically, my hometown is Kanyakumari, and like I'm situated there. But I'm streaming my presentation with everyone also. This is how. This is the confidence that COVID has given to everyone on the better side of the coin, I would say. And people discovered that it is not like you need to work for 9 to 6 hours, but 9 to 6 and a routine fulcrum. But we can choose our hours of work. I can work in my time, which I feel is very productive. And there was a very much emphasis that was given to work-life balance when people realized that they got some good time spending with their elderly parents in their hometown, and or helping their spouses in their daily household matters, or like even spending time with their kids in helping them teach them. So this is something this they call as the new normal. And this new normal, basically I would like to keep it in one frame, that is like the very first term which I mentioned, work from anywhere. You need not be in an office premises to get your work done. If you feel like you have a demonstrated performance, then work can be done from anywhere. That's what the new normal actually define. My definition of new normal would be. And but as I said, like a coin has always a bright side and the dark side. There's always a dark side of the coin. And we see that there is a lot of mind stress, sitting in front of the computer for so long in your home, that creates an increased isolation. Some even felt that like many corporates, many companies, they gave uh, home office, they reimburse the home office cost. But there were some companies which didn't give us, there was an increased home office cost. And there is a risk of overworking. You don't get that defined line between what is work and what is life. You can't even define, or you can't even define that space between work and life during COVID. And very less face time within your team members. So this is from an organizational perspective. You generally in office, we are basically a team player, on like we encourage teams to flourish and grow. But it is like more of like self-based, or like self-dependent, self-taught everything. And we have very less face time to interact with our teams in person. But here also, the HR team in various organizations, like they put a lot of effort making sure that the team stay connected. They even had some virtual engagement activities, virtual celebratory activities to make sure that the employee doesn't feel isolated. And this increased isolation may be even worse in case of people who are launching themselves into the corporate for the very first time. Imagine a situation of campus hire who has been just recruited out of the college. He receives a laptop from the organization to his home. And imagine like he's supposed to work from home. Just imagine his mindset, like he doesn't know, or like even if there's a Teams or Zoom or like something to support and to get connected with their team members, even there is always a hesitation to approach people. But in case if it is an in-person setup or an office setup, it is much more easier to walk off. Of course, the generation now is more of extrovert, but we need to consider the factor that everyone can't be expected to demonstrate that extrovertness. So here also, especially when it comes to a fresher criteria, we could see that there are a lot of isolations, and the people start keeping mum when compared to like in an office scenario. They come and ask, they come for things that needs to be explored. They ask a lot of questions. They tend to make identify their mentors, groom under their guidance. All these things got affected over a point of time. And just like our hand, all five fingers are not the same. It is not like that everyone who's working from home is productive. Of course, I do agree that there are people who are productive, who gave their 200% during work from home. But there is always someone who needs helping hand. And when there are certain set of people across every industry who gave work from home, we could see that there's a particular group where we couldn't be able to track their productivity. At the same time, we could see that their productivity is diminishing by a slight, or I would say like from an average margin. So even for the organizations, from a productivity standpoint, we could see that it is not well advised work for a very long time.
Please mute.
Excuse me. Yeah, thank you. So organizations basically ask people to come to office. Of course, not every organizations ask them to come on one stretch. It was basically how this return to office started, is that they started with the leadership team, because leaders are the one who used to be the front runners. So it all across any organizations, we could see that the leaders were the very first one to come to office for the initial 1 or 2 days. Of course, there are a lot of health and safety regulations that are maintained across offices in India and the world. Initially it started like the leadership team. He needs to come to office for 1 or 2 days in a week, and then gradually they made it 5 days in a week post the second COVID week. And then they asked people below them to report to office for 3 days in a week. And we can't all of a sudden ask everyone to come to office. Yeah, we have planned that, like, it should be a face-on-face manner, but it should be a steady manner. At the same time, we want everyone to come and have that experiences of office. So that is one thing which we were inclining. So this is a funny picture, but I would say, like, there was a lot of resistance across the sector, not only IT. It was IT, ES, and any service domain. We could see that there were a lot of resistance from not only from an executive level, even from a managerial level. We could see that people, as they have made themselves much more comfortable, and they found that their work-life balance or their personal time is much more valuable, and they got that confidence that work could be delivered from anywhere. And there was a lot of resistance across a lot of organizations, lot of industries. Of course, manufacturing setup was not that one that was greatly affected by this return to office, because it requires a lot of in-person presence in a factory setup to run that office. But typically my experience would revolve more about IT and ITES. So yeah, so we felt a lot of resistance. And yeah, the HRs used to keep on sending mails to make sure that people return to office. Even we track attendance of people, like when they are sweeping, when they are regularizing their timesheet. So all those things used to happen. So what are the challenges, or like what are the feedback that we got while we asked our employees to return back to office? That there has been a reverse migration that has already been happened. Majority of the engineers or techies or like project managers in the IT and ITES sector, they don't belong to the metropolitan cities that they are actually situated in. Of course, there will be a 5 or 2% population, but these are people who would have been migrated from other parts of the state or other parts of the country. But during this COVID, everyone made their mark to their hometown. So even the first wave was a very long one. People even gave up their rented houses in the metropolitan cities, and they were actually settled in from their hometown. And but the interesting part is that even though this reverse migration has happened, employees wanted a hybrid culture. They don't want like complete work from home. They want an office space they want to come to office at least once or twice a day, and this is something from the business standards. When a sample survey was run, 40% of the employees, they want to come to office for three times a week, but at the same time 2 days they want to work from a hybrid culture. And majority of the feedback is that like they can have some remote office setups, or like some mini office setup in tier 2 and tier 3 cities close to their hometown. I would give a classic example of Zoho, where they have opened their remote hub offices in various parts of India during this COVID. So this is how, and like this is what is the feedback that has given by the employees. And this concept of GDCs and RDCs in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. Yes, there were global delivery centers and global development centers in tier 2 and tier 3 cities earlier, but the concept came into the spotlight very soon when post pandemic, when people were returned to when asked to return to office. The global delivery centers, global development centers, and the remote delivery centers and remote development centers, many organizations started looking for places in and around tier 2 and tier 3 cities, so that they don't lose their key talent. And basically there are a lot of advantage for both the employee and the employer as well. So that is a key win-win situation for both of them. So of course everything has both the sides of the coin, and it is the time of it all depends upon the time of entry, the location of the office in the tier 2 and tier 3 cities, its ability of mobility to come to the tier 2 city, everything depends upon. And as I said, like there were a lot of companies there which had their offices in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, but this became the talk of the town only after the pandemic, when people are asked to report to office, and when companies started looking for office spaces in and around tier 2 and tier 3 cities. So as I said, it's a win-win situation for both the parties. I would say, I would like to hint a classic example of my friend who was from Mumbai in India, who was basically working from Mumbai in India. He relocated to Kanyakumari, which is I would like to say is a developing tier 3 city or tier 2 city. The rent in Mumbai is something which we all know. And he still continues to work from Kanyakumari. Of course, the organization has given its support. But see, it is a win-win for both in case of like operating from Kanyakumari rather than operating from Mumbai. That's where like the employee saves the rent of the cost, and even for the company, right? The rent of office spaces in tier 1 and metropolitan cities would be much more when compared to the rent of office spaces in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. But I would like to give you a fair note that we can't find a very standard office space when compared to a tier 1 and tier 3 cities. But of course, we find very good number of office spaces that are up to the standards of facility and provide facilities compared to tier 1 and tier 3 cities. We have a good number of IT parks and basically IT special economic zones in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, where the government has previously invested in various parts of India for its development, that were unnoticed and suddenly brought into the limelight post pandemic. And even now we can confidently say that, from at least from an Indian context, the improvement in basic infrastructure in a tier 2 or tier 3 cities would be at least 75% of what we have in a metropolitan city or a tier 1 city. So that is what the second confidence, that people don't want to move, not only from an office perspective, the entire infrastructure or like entire commodity supply of everything, right from a branded thing to everything, it's available at the same cost what is available in a metropolitan city. And same, like we could see that even an office setup as same as a tier 1 cities available in a tier 2 and tier 3 cities. There are promoters, there are like real estate partners to support. And there is increased connectivity with suburbs. We could see that at least within a kilometer of 300-kilometer radius, at least in my state, I could see that there is an airport in every nook and corner of within a kilometer of 300 kilometer radius. So that's how there is increased connectivity network, and then there is the availability of skilled manpower. As I already said, who are the engineers spread across India and across the world? They would have been brought and brought up in somewhere in a town or village in any part of India. So there's a lot of skilled manpower available, and as again it again gained them the confidence that yes, they can have their work-life balance. So these are the 5 key factors that companies thought upon before they started investing in GDC or RDC in a tier 2 city, especially post pandemic. And these are some of the steps, or like some of the things that we need to make a note. Always utilize the first mover advantage. So this is something which is very important in case if you are starting up or setting up your office in a tier 2 or tier 3 cities. It is very important to gain that first mover advantage very soon, so that you get a competitive advantage before some of your competitors, or like some of other industry friends enter into the market in the same thing. It can be like establishing the first mover advantage can be like establishing a brand in the local community or in the particular state or particular district, or like it can be something like setting up a very good network among the professionals available in the same locality, getting some very good connections with the talent pools or the supply of talent pools, basically the colleges in that locality. So everything, it is all up to like utilizing the first mover advantage. So that is something that any organization that is planning to setting up its office in a tier 2 or tier 3 cities has to have a very look upon. And we need to identify our pilot teams, like who are the ones who can actually be the forerunners of driving this office in this particular location. So we need to identify the mentors, we need to identify the leaders, we need to identify the facilitators. So generally I would like to, I can't quote the MNC's name, but it is one of the MNC that is situated in a southernmost part of India, in Madurai. They had a very humongous office setup, which is basically again a tier 2 city in Tamil Nadu. They had a very humongous setup, and what they did is that once the office setup is done in that tier 2 city, they asked their pilot team. They identified people who the organization had confidence that yeah, they will run the show for them on behalf, or like they would drive the certain things, they would make the people hired for that location get more aligned with the organization goal. So they moved people from other location, from Pune, Noida, Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai. Even they brought some people from on-site locations to Madurai, providing them a lot of incentives in the form of like relocation allowance, everything. And they became their champions for driving the teams in Madurai. So that's how. And of course, setting up an office in tier 2 cities, you'll be doing a lot of hiring in and around that city. So basically it is very important to manage that diversity. We need to have that an equal mix of experienced resources and campus side resources, but we need to have mentors to engage the newly hired trainees or like campus hires. So we need to have mentors, and we need to have facilitators to run various programs. So facilitators can be, of course, HR and admin would be part of any facilitator team, but still we need to identify people from the operational side who can be facilitators in driving employee engagement programs, career development programs, or skill development programs. So identifying your pilot team. So these people need, of course, preference can be given to the people who are available in other locations of the same organization, who are willing to relocate to this location, or else it can be people whom can be brought up from other location, put it in this location, help this location grow. This is how you identify your pilot team, and give them all sort of confidence, give them all sorts of empowerment to make sure that they can drive certain things in this organization. So once they feel empowered, and once they feel that the work that they are doing is being valued and being recognized, this pilot team start taking things on its own. Because they know the organizational culture, as many of them be experienced resources who have been with us for quite a long time. they know how to run the show. And that's how this identification of pilot team is a very crucial factor. And the second thing is that we need to adapt changes in the hiring process when compared to hiring in a tier 1 city or a metropolitan city. First, for the first challenge for any recruitment team would be identifying the talent minds for that particular location. So identify the number of colleges that is within a particular kilometer radius from your office that has been newly set up. Have a very good connect with all the colleges that is being in and around your office premises. Visit them 1 or 2 times so that you get some good rapport. And once you feel that there's a particular number of demands to be filled, plan your time of visit with that particular college, get some good number of batches, and follow up to them till they get onboarded, so that they never feel disengaged. And you know identifying such talent minds is something very, very important. We also need to have a very strong thing in our mind, is that we need to have our DE&I, that is diversity, equality, and inclusion initiatives that has been run in our organization, so that it doesn't turn into a office with a local flavor, so that everyone with all diversity are there in that office. For example, there might be a person who might be from North India, willing to relocate, settle with his family in South India, because the office in its remote location doesn't. Might be that he doesn't want to be in a very populated city or something. So that can be anything. Yeah, once you are into the hiring process, you get all sort of answers from various candidates. And lateral hiring is something that that is the experienced candidates hiring is something which is much more challenging when compared to campus hiring, because every school colleges would be ready to give good number of campus hires, but the real challenges come in the form of lateral hiring. So inviting referrals. So if you have some very good network inside your office, you can ask people in that network to refer for that particular location. And the second thing is that the use of social media, like it can be like LinkedIn, or like it can be like even I have seen like companies, very, very big giants, using Instagram for its promotion for hiring in various tier 2 and tier 3 cities. And third thing is that establishing networks with this can be as simple as that in any professional forum, or like with any alumni relations team of any college available nearby, so that with this establishing the network, we can easily tap the targeted pool. For example, just imagine sending a note to your getting a mail from your college alumni association stating that, hey, this MNC has opened its office in a nearby of our hometown, and like in case if you want to move and apply, you can apply for this position. So that would be much more thing. And professional forums are available anywhere across India, and it is very best to use these professional forums to make the best use of this opportunity. For example, CAA, I would say. So CAA is like, I would vouch for it, that Confederation of Indian Industries, even in tier 3 cities, I have seen like they are organizing forums, they are organizing networking sessions. So yeah, it helps in interacting with talents, but at the same time, it also helps you promote yourself as a brand. And all these changes needs to be, or all these factors needs to be on the back of the mind while we set up a hiring process for a tier 2 cities when compared to a metropolitan city. And this is something which is very, very, very important, because basically in a new office setup, we need to drive organizational culture, and that is something very, very important, because every organization has the organization culture, which is very closely associated with its organizational value. So we need to the fresh crowd. Of course, we'll be having some 10 to 15% of your population in this new office, basically who are your experienced resources, who have been staying with you for quite a long time. But with the fresh crowd, it is like, it's very important to teach them what your organization culture is, define them the lines, like till what is acceptable, what is not acceptable. And as I said, like we need to identify a good level of mentors and like good level of leaders or like facilitators. So we need to live our talk and we need to make sure that all our organizational culture essence is being carried on or driven properly in the tier 2 cities or tier 2 organizations that has been set up. And we need to measure. So this every organization has its organizational culture survey or like organizational culture feedback that runs in every quarter. So we need to measure how is this being perceived by the employees in that particular location. And of course, we need to make sure that people who are following it or the teams who are following it needs to be rewarded. So this structure exclusively works for a team that is set up in a very as a revenue setup in a tier 2 or tier 3 cities, because as I already said, the majority of the population would be fresh. They would have been either based out of that location, or they would have been lateral hires or the experienced one who have been working in another organization just because the office is located in their hometown. They would have recently joined us. So it is very, very important to always reiterate our organizational culture in such forums so that it becomes, it gets easily aligned for a HR to drive certain things. And this is something which is very crucial and interesting. Employee engagement. So this employee engagement is not only about like having some fun activities or like having some fun activities or like having some festive celebration. So it is more of like buddying and mentoring. As I said, like your majority of the population in tier 2 cities would have been either more of campus IS or like they're just out of colleges, or like they would have been joined in this new location just because this new location is close to their hometown. So buddying and mentoring is something like we need to make sure that from a performance standpoint and also from a deployment standpoint, this needs to be taken care of. And also this mentors need to ensure that the organizational values and the organizational culture is being rightly monitored among their mentees so that it becomes feasible and easy for the HR team to drive certain things. And again, conduct regular feedbacks, surveys and polls to improve what can be done most in this newly set up office in tier 2 cities. Such feedbacks always give you valuable insight so that you can implement certain things, I would say with the local flavor, particular with regards to that particular location. And we can have like a lot of skill development courses that can be implemented, because always a new office, there will be a perception that will I be getting an equal exposure when compared to a office setup in tier 1 cities. So make sure that your resources are skilled, and make sure that all the engagement activities, be it a reward or recognition section or a career development session, so whatever that is being run across various parts of the other organization in other location needs to be carried out. So this is something not only the HR team, but the entire leadership team that has been identified as a pilot team needs to take care of its own. And this is something, again, external employer branding, that we need to think global and act local. So of course, when a very big organizations enter into tier 2 and tier 3 cities, very subtle example is that you don't find vendors easily for transportation and cab. So some challenges are there, I would agree, but it is very important for us to think global but at the same time act local. So getting that external employer branding is something which is very unique. So you can have transportation facilities stickered with the brand name. At the same time, I would say one of the company, they sponsored for some shadow nets during a kart festival in a tier 2 city. So such is where you tend to get an emotional connect between the city people and that particular brand, so that these people think that, oh, they are a very big MNC and they value for us, so that even if my son or daughter, once they graduated, I can ask him or her to join this particular organization. So it is that we need to make our presence more visible and appealing, so that we become a preferred employer of choice at a later point of time. Of course, this not only depends upon the external employer branding activities, it depends upon how you treat your employees who are already there in your GDCs, how they have been valued, and word of mouth has its own power than spreading good things. So this is how you do. And with this, I end my presentation. So on a summing note, I would say that see, tier 2, tier 3 cities, of course, now tier 2 cities are also on the verge of saturation in terms of like occupancy from major IT giants and like new startups. But even tier 2 cities, tier 3 cities have been the entrance for many companies. It surely would be a game changer in the much more coming days, but it's not going to be the very same game where tier 1 cities or metropolitan cities are going to be the deciders of IT or ITS sector. It's going to be like thanks to COVID, even you can have a global delivery center operating from a remote place in India with a internet connectivity and office facility. So with this, I would end my note. And if there is anything you guys want to ask, we are open for a discussion. And if there is anything you want to discuss or brainstorm, I'm good for it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, sir, for this really very informative and valuable session. This was a very amazing session. And now we have some participants with some queries. So on their behalf, I would like to ask some questions. So the questions are,
I could see one question from the chat box. There was a term called Great Resignation sometime back. Can you brief about it? So yeah, so I would like to take a view of this Great Resignation, but I would like to keep it very subtle, considering that this is slightly out of the topic that we are discussing, but it is very closely related to the sector which I work. So Great Resignation is something that every ITES, even the manufacturing setup, especially post COVID, people were in their hometown, were in working from their homes. There was a lot of attrition happening in ITES. We had the entire IT sector had a very bad quarter in 2021 where the attrition was close to 45%. So that is the attrition standard of the IT sector in 2021, in a quarter. So this Great Resignation, it's because like that post COVID, I would say pre COVID, if you want to attend an interview, you need to take a day leave, go to that particular location. For example, if a guy from Chennai wants to go for an interview in Bangalore, he or she needs to go to that particular location, take one day leave in his current employer, go do that interview, have second round, third round of interview, again leaves. But that's not the case. That's not the case in case if you are doing a work from home. And many of the organizations have made their recruitment process as a more virtual one. So even I have seen companies who are doing their campus onboarding more virtually. So that's how it's very easy for anyone to attend interview. And there was a lot of great resignation, especially when people were called back to their original locations. People started resigning, and it is very easy for them to move to another job. And the second thing is that because of this rising attrition, the salary is also peaked. So that is one thing. And of course the market was also very generous at that point of time. Of course, great minds here in the session would have known that what is currently happening in the IT sector, that we are in a, I wouldn't say in a bottleneck, but we are in a very restricted phase now. Of course, you would have been very aware of things that have been happening in the US market right now. So this Great Resignation is something which is more because of the, as I said, like this, because of the other side of the coin. In work from home, it is not that difficult to attend an interview, and you get virtually onboarded. I have seen handful of people, or like more than thousands of people who have joined virtually in an organization, spend close to less than a year there, offboarded virtually. So they got their laptops, everything transported their home. They couriered their laptops back after their offboarding. So this is what is all about the Great Resignation. So yeah, we're still not that recovered from that Great Resignation, especially in the IT and ITS sector. We are going through that phase of recovery. And as I said, this market is also from an American market standpoint, we are getting into a restricted phase. So I believe this correction would happen very soon. Okay, and there is one question, something, kindly share something about moonlighting in IT sector. Okay, so moonlighting is something that's a buzzing topic and talk of the town in the IT sector right now. So moonlighting is as simple as that. The terminology itself defines. If you work on the day, that is during the regular sun, during a visible part in the sunlight, it's called working in a regular office. And you after the dark, you work in the dark. That is what is really called as moonlight at a metaphorical sense. But moonlighting is something that you hide your employment with the second or with the second employer to the primary organization. So many organizations have this policy, and it is a very good policy that you need to be employed with only one employer at a time. So this is something which I personally believe is something that defines the integrity of a particular person or a particular employee. Because there might once people in IT sector, they very much know that on their projects they run or the projects they work, there are a lot of confidentiality things. You can't work simultaneously on the same projects. Every company has its own competitive advantage, and you cannot utilize and make use of it at two organizations at the same time. And sometimes we deal with very confidential matters of our clients. So moonlighting is something that shouldn't be encouraged from my point of view. At the same time, many companies also don't do that. It is something that you are hiding some very crucial information from your current employer. So moonlighting, how it happens that you are working in two organizations, you are getting paid by two organizations. So that is how. So imagining a company, imagining a candidate working in one of the company and its competitor company. That's how the scenario of moonlighting is. And that is something, yeah, many IT companies or the ITS companies, even manufacturing companies, during the time of joining, very clearly mentions that moonlighting is not or dual employment is not something that is not encourageable. And if we come to know that, that will be surely be a termination case or something like an advice resignation, depending upon the scrutiny and the severity. But yeah, but now there are checks and balances. Yeah, like we do have background verifications that used to come. And there are a lot of things people sometimes get over excited, and they share in LinkedIn profiles that they are working here, and but of course they will be an employer under your current role. So these are something. But I would say that if your employer, or like at least from my personal note, it is not that great to work in two organizations at the very same time, especially in the very same industry. Yes, moonlighting is something bad at my personal point of view too. So you can't get salary from many two organizations, especially if they are competitors at the very same time. And when global organization established in local region, then we can say it helped to develop local people as well. Yeah, of course, Suman Kumar has asked this question. Yeah, so that is something because usually imagine that an organization is setting up a 1,000-seater office in a tier 2 or tier 3 cities. uh, you can't expect that all the 1,000 seaters would be filled by the people who are working in your organization from various parts of India or globe. There needs to be a certain set of people whom you want to hire from that particular location, in and around that particular location, groom them and develop them so that they also be part of this development phase. And as I said, any organization won't enter a particular location without any a basic ideology. They tend to do all sort of research. They check that they have enough immense talent minds available in that location, so that their recruitment process doesn't become that difficult once after establishment. Yeah, so that is what. So definitely they will look for development, not only from us from hiring and or hiring in that organization perspective, but also they when a very big MNC comes into a particular place, they do a lot of CSR related activities too, and that's how things been taken care of. Nisarga has asked a question. Recently, one of the company terminated many of its employees because of moonlighting. So, what's your opinion? Is moonlighting bad? So, I've answered this question. Yeah. So, definitely yes. Moonlighting is not acceptable. It's unfair because this is something that your employer hasn't given any hint about you. They would have been clearly mentioned to you that dual employment is an offense during your time of onboarding. At the same time, you would have definitely given your signature under it during your onboarding. So dual employment is something bad. That is what is metaphorically called as moonlighting, which is something bad. Yeah. So these are the questions in the chat box. So yeah, so yeah, thank you, Nisarga. So if there's anything you want to take it up, I'm good. Like we have a good 4 minutes to go. Suman Kumar has asked a question. Did the local flavor change the culture of the organization in larger view or less? I would say that that's where I mentioned that there always need to be a local approach. That is like think globally with your organization culture and drive it locally, depending upon your location which you are situated. But I don't see that a location doesn't have a larger constraint in affecting an organization culture, whereas it is the other way where the organization culture is being driven, but slightly in the flavor of the local people. So that's how you get things done. Just because the people who are entering as new to a particular office, they might take some time to adapt. They might become because your tier 2 people see, of course, they are equally as exposed in various networking forums when compared to a tier 1 city. You can't say that there's a large change in the flavor of culture. People get easily adapted, and it's not a very Herculean task for us to groom them also. So I don't see a very big challenge in driving this organizational culture amongst the local flavor. So if you don't have any questions, we can wind up the session. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So thank you so much, sir, for making our doubts clear. The webinar was really very amazing. I would like to propose heartiest vote of thanks to you for gracing today's webinar. Your presence and wise word helped magnifying in the best positive way. I hope all the participants learned a lot with this webinar. I would like really to thank you for giving us your valuable time, and I am delighted to be the part of today's webinar. A good event never ends in the world. They take only a pause and keep us awaiting for the next. All good meetings eventually end. I consider everyone as fortunate that they became a part of this webinar, which was full of knowledge, which makes difficult to say goodbye. And I request everyone to please fill the feedback form, which is provided in the chat box, and you can fill the feedback form within 6 hours, through which you all are able to get e-certificate within 5 working days. And remember, don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel. Never now, everyone. Now again, thank you for attending today's webinar. If you have additional questions, so you can contact us by email or telephone. We are happy to provide additional support to you. So optimize is the faith that leads to achievement. Nothing can be done without hope and confidence. So stay connected to us for new learnings. I, Neha Kamtamkar, your host for the day, signing off on a cheerful note. Have a wonderful day. Thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, team. Thank you. It was really wonderful having
Thank you, sir.
some.
Thank you very much. I just request one request to everyone. Please open your cameras so that we can take a screenshot, and that is called a selfie. So I request everyone to open the camera, please. Just waiting for opening a camera, everyone. Say cheese. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for the time. Thank you for joining. Thank you very much, sir, for insightful information about this industry.
Thank you, Atul. Thank you, Neha. Have a great day, guys. All the
Thank
very
you.
best. Thank you.